Welcome back to my channel. In the last couple of episodes, I was working primarily on making the car run well. The car's running great, and now I'm going to start working on some of the cosmetic issues. You may have noticed the front end is already looking quite a bit better. I did a polishing pass on it, cleaned up a lot of it, still has a little ways to go. The roof is still pretty bad. You may remember how terrible this was in the first episode I did. What I've been doing is actually wet sanding the roof. And I started over here. It's starting to clean up pretty good. Didn't know what to expect when I tried that, but honestly, how could it get worse than this? So yeah, that's what I'm gonna be doing today. Gonna work on finishing off the roof and hoping for good results, and hopefully avoid a paint shop bill. I also made an attempt at cleaning up the headlights a little bit with a polisher, but it really didn't do much. They're in pretty poor state. I guess this car's had quite a bit of sun exposure in the past. My game plan with these is gonna be to actually remove them from the car and then wet sand them and actually re-clear coat them. To remove them from the car, I'm gonna have to pull the front bumper off and some other things, so that'll be at a later time. Right now, I'm gonna focus on the roof and hope that it cleans up. Again, showing the condition from the other side where the light hits it a little bit better. I don't know what happened to this car. My guess is the roof has been blended possibly, because it looks like the paint underneath is quite a bit better. The question is, why was it blended, and is it gonna be clean underneath this entire thing? That's the risk that we're gonna take here. But from the little bit I've done, you can see it's cleaning up pretty nicely. There's some type of marks here that aren't gonna come out, but if we can get this reduced and make it less noticeable, I'm gonna consider it a win. I did receive one paint quote on this car to redo the roof and the roof fenders and everything. It was quoted right around $2,500. So if it comes down to it, we'll do that, but it would be really nice to save that money for at least now. Eventually, I'd like to get the whole car painted, so I'd rather wait and save up and just do everything at once so it's 100% matching and 100% good. Anyway, let's get to sanding and see what happens with this. All right, I've got an assortment of sandpapers, starting with 1,500, also have down to 1,000, and we'll finish with 2,000 before I polish it. If you've never done this before, it's not really for the faint of heart, and I really don't recommend trying if you don't know what you're doing. Here, I've obviously got really nothing to lose, so we're gonna go ahead and go forward with it. But if it's an original car, normally polishing will just work, but this one is really extremely bad and the polisher just couldn't mow it down. So let's get to sanding. This white chalky look that you're seeing is actually clear coat. So again, this is not something you want to be really extremely rough with. This is something you really want to take your time with, because once you go through it, that's it. Again, not for the faint of heart. All right, this is starting to dry up. You'll see what you're left with is basically just a uniform hazy area. The more uniform it looks, the better. That way when we polish it, it should all come out. Next step, I'm gonna sand it with some 2000 grit, and then we will polish it and see how it looks. All right, showing the 2000 grit here. This is just to make it more uniform. That way when we polish it, it's a lot less work. Also wanted to say that main inspiration for trying this method was actually watching a Velocity Garage video. That's a detailer, I believe, out of the Kansas area. He tried it on a shop car and it worked great, so that's why we're here trying it on the Ferrari. So a big shout out to them. All right, I've got my wet sanding mostly done here. What I'm gonna do is do a a quick pass with the polisher to see how it comes out, and then we'll determine if we need to do any more or not. It looks pretty scary, but realistically this will polish out easily. So let's get our polish and see what happens. Okay, for polishing, I'm going to be using a Menzerna compound. You can see I've had this bottle for a while. It's been through many cars. Adam's Swirl Killer Polisher with a microfiber pad, of course. And then we'll, I guess we'll just see what happens here. Hoping for the best and preparing for the worst. All right, here's what we ended up getting. I think it looks pretty good, actually. You can tell it's got a lot more definition and shine there. And it looks pretty clear. So I think what I'm gonna do is repeat this process, and it's obviously gonna take a while to do the whole roof, but eventually we'll need to do the whole car. Probably won't wet sand everything, just the treble areas. But yeah, that's a huge win in my book. So let's get to it. All right, it's been a considerable amount of time, but now I'm ready to see what happened with all of the polishing I just did. So let's take a look. I'm not expecting perfection, but hopefully looking for something that'll be livable, not embarrassing. It's hard to think that a Ferrari would be embarrassing to be in, but when another car guy sees a car in this condition, they're gonna judge you a little bit. Ooh. While it's not perfect, I don't think it looks much better. Still a few little areas like this, but I think overall that's gonna be very livable. Yeah, I'm very happy with this. One other thing the car really needs is for this trim to be redone. I might look into taking that off and respraying it black. So yeah, first part of this reconditioning is a success. Now on the other side of the car, things are looking pretty good over here too. I don't know very much about paintwork. I know the extreme basics, but my guess is something was blended on this car. There's some type of agent on here that you can see. If you happen to be watching this and know about paintwork, maybe you could fill me in. Like right here, it's a little thicker. And what I'm noticing is I can actually polish it off, of course, with a lot of effort, and the paint underneath it is nice. So yeah, if you know what's going on with that, please comment and let me know. Decided while I had everything out, I was gonna go ahead and try to wet sand this and polish it to see if it would clear up any. I still think it's gonna need to be taken out of there because it's hazy on the inside as well. But let's see what happens with just wet sanding and polishing it. As a reminder, this is roughly how they look. Sadly, that's actually an improvement. Changed polishers as well. This one's got a little more power. Would have used it on the roof, except my microfiber pad I had was not made for it. It was a little too small, so we used what we had. Anyway, let's see what happens with this. So here's our light after a little polishing. I think it actually looks quite a bit better. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side just so that it'll match. As far as the inside, I'm not sure how to approach this. Some people cut these apart, others heat them up and pull them apart. The problem is that this light on eBay or really anywhere is very expensive. I think a brand new one is $2 or $3 grand. A used one is $1,000 and up. So I don't know if the risk is worth the reward. I was wondering what would happen if you filled it up with distilled water and switched it around and drained it. Shouldn't leave any spots. I don't know though. Open to suggestions because I'd really like to get these cleaned out. But for now, let's attack this one. A definite improvement over what we had before, but still lets the car down quite a bit. It's just all this haze that's on the inside that needs to go. Gonna have to figure out a way to do it because I can't live with it like this. But for now, I think it looks quite a bit better. Okay, moving on to the back of the car now. We've got similar damage that was on the roof on the rear fenders. Looks like it's gonna be the same scenario. A previous detailer burned it a little bit right here, but the paint underneath actually looks nice. So gonna try to sand this, polish it, and see how it looks. All right, I think I'm gonna stop here. So I'm a little worried if I go any farther, I'm actually gonna make it worse. So sometimes you have to live with good enough. This might be one of those times. Overall though, not bad. This side is not near as bad. So what I'm gonna do is just hit it with 2000 because it's pretty rough. 2000 grit, polish it out, and we should be good. Right here, a little bit more to work on. Here as well. I'm not sure if this is from the wrap or what happened, but let's see if we can make it look a little bit better. All right, this one is coming up blue. I'm probably gonna stop, see what's going on here before I continue. Not a good sign. Okay, my goal with this spot is just gonna be to kind of make it blend in. Already looks a little bit better. So what we'll do is we'll polish this and see how it looks. If we wanna sand a little bit more, we can, or we can leave it as is. Again, the goal is not perfection. The goal is just to not draw your eye to it when you walk by the car. And here's what we ended up with. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Does it look better? In my eyes, I think so. Just need to polish out this fender and we should be good to give the car a wash and see how it looks in the sun. Again, not perfection, but that's okay. Just gonna give the car a quick wash and see if we did any good. Always a nice sound. Nothing quite beats a cold start. Well, I have to say I'm extremely happy with the way the car came out. I think it looks like a completely different car. Still a few touches to do. Still need to do the trim. But overall, this is not the same car I brought home. Just shows with a little bit of effort, you can do a lot. Again, it's still not perfect, but I think it's good enough to be a driver quality and enjoy the car without too much worry of driving it, which is more than you can really ask for. So I appreciate you watching. And if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing because I'll be putting out more videos shortly.